What's up, guys? So the Rogue One, a Star Wars story teaser trailer finally dropped today. It's pretty amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown and just talk about some stuff, and then I've got some theories, some pretty wild theories about this whole movie and its central character. So let's get into it. So the first shot we see is of Jyn Erso, Felicity Jones's character in the film. We don't really know a lot about her or really anyone in this movie, but as the trailer progresses, we learn that she's a bit of a troublemaker and a rebel, as she puts it. Next, we get a look at what appears to be the Yavin 4 base from A New Hope. In the background, we have an X-wing and like there's people and droids and everything, and it looks really lived in and a place that the rebels would set up, and it looks exactly how it looked in A New Hope. A little bit different, different angles and stuff, but yeah, it looks really cool. I really like it. Next, Jyn is introduced to Mon Mothma, who people will recognize from Return of the Jedi. She's also standing next to a man who appears to be some type of commander. We're not really too sure, maybe a special forces commander or something. And what's interesting about this woman playing Mon Mothma is that she played her in the deleted scenes from Episode 3. It's the same character as well. So that's really cool, a nice little bit of continuity there between films. Also, the bearded man that stands behind her is Jan Dodonna, and the bearded man people should recognize from A New Hope, and he was the one who delivered the briefing of the Death Star plans to Rogue Squadron. In the same scene, we are also introduced to Diego Luna's character. We don't actually know who he is, and he doesn't actually have a speaking role in this whole trailer, and I'm kind of theorizing that he might be playing a young Biggs Darklighter, since his character looks oddly familiar like him. He's still got like the little mustache and everything, and the hair's the same color as well. Now, Biggs was Luke's friend from A New Hope that he met at the end and unfortunately died during the Death Star attack. And we know he left the rebellion since in a deleted scene from A New Hope, he comes back to Tatooine and sees Luke and sort of starts planting the seeds of rebellion in Luke. Next, we get a small action scene with Jyn and some troopers in the back of a alley of some type in some type of city. A really cool little action scene, but what was really cool is there's this big robot behind Jyn in one of these scenes before that, and I think this is Alan Tudyk's character, since he was seen on set in a mocap suit with stilts on, and I think he's playing some sort of robot or maybe even an alien. Maybe that's just someone else's character, we don't know. Then we get an amazing shot of an Imperial Star Destroyer in the shadow of a partially completed Death Star with the laser being inserted into it. What's really cool about this is how the Death Star and Star Destroyers look exactly how it looked in A New Hope. It looks exactly like the matte painting we saw when the Millennium Falcon was flying towards it and being sucked in by its tractor beam. And by the looks of it, it looks like Gareth Edwards has gone to great lengths to capture the feel of that time period, and it shows. It shows a really cool scene. Next, we get a better look at the Yavin base with pilots running around their ships and all the different like pilot designs on their helmets and everything. We also get Felicity and Diego's character looking like they might be heading out to a shuttle or something. Some really cool looking droids like the Gonk droids and X-Wing in the background. Some really cool stuff. Then we get a cool shot of Ben Mendelsohn's character, who appears to be some type of Imperial. It's interesting to note that the clothes he's wearing are actually typically held for Grand Admirals of the Imperial fleet. At least that was what it was in the old expanded universe. Like when we saw Grand Admiral Thrawn, he was wearing like a white uniform, very reminiscent to this one. So it'll be cool if they actually bring this stuff back into canon. Also, he appears to be standing maybe in the Death Star control room. Looks very similar, like very similar screens to that of the ones we saw in A New Hope. And he seems to be carrying maybe some sort of sporting blaster or like a cane blaster hybrid or something. Really interesting to find out more about this character. He seems really sinister, and he's only in the shot like twice in this whole trailer. Next, we get a look at some old school stormtroopers, as well as some type of tank trooper rolling through the streets of some city. This tank trooper I think was just sort of revealed or like leaked recently in some set photos, I believe, or some art leaked or something, and they described these tank troopers and they look really cool, and it all looks really practical as well, which is really great. Next, we get a look at Forrest Whitaker's character, and he narrates the latter half of the trailer talking about what will someone become. Obviously, it's trailer talk and everything, we don't know who he's talking about, but he's wearing some type of old power armor or heavy armor, so maybe he's some type of war veteran or smuggler or bounty hunter or something. I think he's Jin's mentor or like a father figure to her, and he turns into some type of Obi-Wan role for the movie, like this old guy who's sort of helping the younger heroes. Next, we get a look at some cool shadow troopers the movie will introduce. They look awesome, and they appear to be some type of spec ops unit, maybe, since later on in the trailer we see them with way advanced equipment like rifles that don't look anything like the E11 blaster rifles the stormtroopers carry, so maybe they're like spec ops or something. Next, we get a look at some type of city or like marketplace with the different aliens and beings and everything, and we also see some stormtroopers taking rebel prisoners through the streets, so that's pretty interesting. So obviously there's of going through these cities capturing rebels, or like these are rebels that have crashed onto the planet or something. Going to be really interesting to see how they paint this whole thing, like whether it's just like people being murdered in the streets or whatnot. It's going to be really cool. Next, we get a look at the robot Alan Tudyk might be playing, as well as Diego Luna and Felicity Jones, running down what looks to be kind of like a futuristic subway system of types. Like on the right next to Felicity there seems to be like a subway car or like a transit car or something. Could be like some type of facility, maybe in the Death Star or something, or some Imperial planet or something. We also get a shot of a bunch of different stormtroopers running about what kind of looks like the same facility, and there's normal stormtroopers as well as like these kind of scout-like stormtroopers that maybe they're like an elite version of the scout trooper or something. They're like kind of like in a greenish yellow armor. They look really cool as well. Then we get a really cool scene with Donnie Yen's character. Now, like the other characters, we don't know really anything about this guy except that he is blind. So maybe this is a scene where the troopers think that he's just some blind old man who's come out with all the action happening around him, and he just kicks their asses, because that's what he does in the next scene. He just beats the ever-living fuck out of this stormtrooper. Also in the background of that scene there's a destroyed X-Wing and some more troopers in the background holding people hostage or something, and there's a guy picking through the wreckage. So this is like a war-torn city or planet, so that's going to be really cool to see. Next, we get some more shadow troopers and their really cool guns and everything. They look like Navy SEAL type things. Like Navy SEALs carry like smaller weaponry and smaller advanced weaponry. These guys look like they have really advanced weaponry, and maybe that's some type of flamethrower they have, since the ending of the gun seems to be burnt in some type of way like a flamethrower would be. We also get to see a shuttle explode on the planet that is this kind of beach atoll island planet. Looks really cool, and the ship looks very reminiscent to Kylo Ren's from The Force Awakens, with the wings hanging above the ship. They also look really similar to the Lambda class shuttles that we saw in the original trilogy. This also takes place, it looks like, in a base of some type, so maybe this is like a sabotage mission or something, you know, to get the Death Star plans or something. It's going to be really cool to find out what exactly this scene is, since we've seen it being shot in behind the scenes stuff, as well as set photos from like drones and like leaking images of like stormtroopers floating in the water dead and everything. It's going to look really cool. I think there's going to be some type of Saving Private Ryan sort of thing at the end. Then we get Bren Mendelsohn's character walking through the wreckage of that shuttle by the looks of it, and it seems to be like maybe a base in the background, so maybe this is like some type of secret base he is in charge of or something. Next is this is a scene that kind of caught me by surprise and kind of led to some of my theories, especially what's said later on in the trailer. In this scene we have a cloaked man kneeling before some type of chamber with Royal Imperial Guards either side. Now the Imperial Guards go wherever the Emperor goes, or where he tells them to go, so maybe they're similar to the ones that we saw in the Lando comic series and they're guarding something for him. Maybe this is the Emperor, maybe this is an Inquisitor. Also the tank looks really similar to a Bacta tank, and there's like a lot of like mist and everything to maybe symbolize that it's cold, so maybe it is like a Bacta tank, maybe it's even a cloning tank. We don't know. This is very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to talk about this. Next, we get a really cool shot that ends the trailer. It's on the beach planet, and it seems to be some type of Saving Private Ryan scene where the rebels are coming off their dropship right into the middle of Imperial AT-AT walkers, all firing on them, and there's like some big satellite in the background. Looks really cool. What's also really cool is that these Imperial walkers seem to be different from the ones we saw in Empire Strikes Back and Rebels. These ones seem to have some type of tan door or something on the side of them, so maybe they're like some type of spec ops or like meant for like jungle warfare or something. Going to be really cool to see these different designs of stuff that we've seen before, but they've kind of like made it new or like older, I guess, since this takes place before A New Hope. Then we get our final shot of the trailer, which is Felicity Jones's character in some type of tunnel or pod that lights up, and she's wearing Imperial pilot uniform and carrying some type of bladed weaponry on her back, so maybe like stun battens or something. Really interesting, and I'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, that's the end of the trailer, and I thought it was a pretty damn good trailer. It really held my suspense, didn't give too much away, just gave the basic plot. You know, they want this girl to find the Death Star plans. You know, didn't resort to any, you know, big reveals or spoilers or anything, so that's really cool. I hope they continue it like what they did with The Force Awakens, where nothing was really spoiled in the trailers. But yeah, really excited. Now onto theories. My theory is that maybe Felicity Jones's character is an Imperial mole, like a spy of some type, and going a little bit further, that maybe she's a cloned spy. And I only say that mainly because of that scene we saw with the Bacta tank sort of thing. Maybe that in there is like a clone that they clone people from, and maybe that's what they're resorting to, like cloning spies, since it might be a bit easier or more efficient or something. And again, she could also be the opposite of that, be a rebel spy, and she might be in a position where she can actually infiltrate the Imperial fleet or Imperial government or something, so she goes with that and dresses up as one of them and pretends to be one of them. Really looking forward to this and seeing exactly how it is, since it's been touted as being Zero Dark 30 but for Star Wars, so that's a really good way to explain this movie. It's going to be gritty and like no lightsabers or Jedi to save these people. It's going to be down and dirty, you know, the people of the rebellion, not worrying about, you know, Luke Skywalker's here to rescue us. It's going to be pretty brutal, I think, as well. I think it's going to really push the limits of what people assume Star Wars is about. I'm really looking forward